Another hotel podcast in English today. Why English? I think because you're quite an international office, or not office, company. And because I'm from Stuttgart, from the Swabian region, and perhaps you might not understand my German here in Berlin. But what I can see behind you is very nice. It's a Stuttgart television tower, so that I can see from my kitchen window, actually.
Really?
So now I'm sitting here. Yeah. Took me 6 hours. I just arrived. It was the first time that I arrived in Berlin, and I didn't feel cold,
Yeah.
cold actually. Yeah. So let's start. Hotel podcast at Ippolito Fleitz. Really looking forward to our episode today. Jana and Tomás. Who are you? And what do you do here at Ippolito Fleitz?
Hi, I'm Jana, and I'm specialized in hospitality design. Really, so I came into the company to work as a consultant to guide the design process of hospitality projects. And I've worked on a lot of larger scale projects, especially in Asia and the Middle East and so on. So Tomás and I have a similar background in regards to region and also a previous connection. So it's great that we met up again in this part of the world. Yeah.
So you both are real hospitality guys in architecture and design.
That's correct. We both in the same boat, actually. It's been an interesting journey, and Jana somehow has kind of show up just recently, but actually we are connected maybe for the last 15 years, I would say, because we were both, as Jana mentioned, in Asia. Jana was in Singapore, I was in Shanghai.
Okay.
We both used to work for large international firms.
Yeah.
And we switch into a context where everything is more boutique, the scale is smaller, but attention to detail as well is a lot more. So, yeah. And regarding myself, a little introduction. So I'm with Ippolito Fleitz already almost 3 years. I came to grow our studio, and we have a floor upstairs right now, a lot more energy, enthusiasm as well, and a different commercial platform in the one that we operate, a larger portfolio of clients, and as well an intention to enter into international markets that we actually, I think it's actually happening. We are now entering into Asia more aggressively, and as well in the Middle East. And Jana came really to support us on that growth.
Okay.
So
and Peter Ippolito and Gunter Fleitz, I think they started the company in 2002 in Stuttgart, so where I come from. So I'm still looking for Peter, as I always thought that he's one of my neighbors, but I never can see him. So we have to discuss this afterwards. And when did you start working in hospitality? Is this a new segment or?
When I started in
Ippolito Fleitz is a first project, hotel project.
I mean, they've done some smaller projects. Yeah, we started 2 years ago.
Okay.
In May, and yeah, so it's increasingly growing. But we're also actively trying to network and get into this part of the world. As I mentioned to you before, I was born and brought up in Germany, but then left in 1999 and just came back 3 years ago. So
a long time abroad, huh?
Yes.
From 1999 until 3 years ago.
Exactly.
So where did you live before?
I first went to London because my dad is English, actually. And just design, art, music, fashion. I studied there, then spent the majority of 10 years there, brief stop in New York, then Amsterdam, Singapore, and then back here. Yeah.
Oh.
But then it was COVID, so it's been a slower process, but I feel now it's, accelerating. Yeah.
You've got an international background as well, I imagine.
That's correct. My father is Spanish. My mother is Chilean. I was born in Santiago. I lived there until 17. 17, I got a scholarship. I went to Domus in Milan to do my studies. I got engaged with two very important figures in my life. One of them, Ian Trager. The second one, Philip Stark. They took me to a project in Argentina, from the school in Milan directly to Buenos Aires. I was the only student who spoke Spanish, actually, so I could help them into a project. I got engaged with the hospitality market, basically in love with the hotel work. I went to London, worked with GA, and from GA and London to Japan. Did 2 projects there, the Conrad and as well the San Reyes in Osaka. Decided to move forward with Gensler, which is a much larger corporation, largest, I think, in the world. And then I went with them to Shanghai, LA, and work internationally. I think was an excellent experience who helped me to understand the nuances between the market, the different markets, and the importance to understand how the perception of what hospitality is are on those.
I think that's a very interesting point. Yeah.
We definitely is.
So that you know the different views on the topic. Yeah?
That's been really insightful for me and for the people around. I think what is crucial is the fact what you were mentioning about Peter and Gunter. I think maybe I will get back to them here because I think there's a very particular essence around our organization, and it comes from the fact that they're definitely very curious. Different to many other actors in the market. They from the very beginning, they decided to go abroad. And the meeting point for us was when I was working with Imar, which is a large developer in Middle East. Mohamed Alabar, the owner and the Ministry of Economy and the ambassador of UAE and Uzbekistan, invited me to check some properties there. And one of the properties that was in question was a property designed by them.
Okay.
So it was there in the meeting point, and they said, well, we know these crazy Germans who did, this hotel in this government palace in 4 months. And I went like, that's
where was the palace in?
Uzbekistan.
Tashkent,
which is the capital.
Okay.
And it was like, I went like, that's not possible, but actually it was. So I went to visit them, and then the relationship started. And since I'm married to a German lady, and we have a 6-year-old, we decided
who married you as fast as you built the hotel. I imagine.
That's correct.
She gave you 4 months, huh?
Yeah, that's correct. And but finally we ended up here, and I think it's been a good collaboration, and I think it's bringing opportunity to a large international team, people from all different places that's now exploring, adventures in other countries with us.
So we mentioned Berlin, of course, where we are at the moment, but also Stuttgart, where the company has been founded. But you even have an office in Shanghai.
And we are actually opening one in Thailand as well.
In Thailand, okay.
So we see an opportunity in the South Asian market, not only to explore the market there, but to support our projects here as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So please repeat. You don't want to develop hotels in Thailand, but
we definitely want. And, but I think the biggest focus is now bring the sense of wellness and Asian hospitality into other markets. And I think how the best way to really apply that formula is engaging with people that work in that market for years, and they have the experience on developing brands like Aman, and other very Bassett, which are very important actors on a very crafted sense of wellness that I think will be very insightful for this market.
Okay.
Nevertheless, in the German market has really good particularities that we as well trying to extrapolate to other markets.
Okay.
But I think that's the intention, to try to bring our brand definitely as well into other markets and bring the talent from other markets into our market.
Also, you mix the best products or talents between the markets.
I think it's important exchange. Post-COVID, it has been there is a sense of clusters. I think it's a positive thing as well on that. But I think it's important exchange, and for us as designers, I think that exchange is really what makes our work meaningful. So, I think Jana, I'm sure, is totally agree with me.
Yeah, I think generally working across different countries with people with different strengths and a pool of knowledge is super helpful. And so I've been working like this actually for the past. I was in Asia for a long time, but since I came back, it's been a mix working between the different continents. And there's a lot of large scale projects in Asia. And as Tomás mentioned, the kind of level of hospitality and wellness, it's a different, level than it is here. So I think to combine those forces and work with people from everywhere really, brings out the best essence. So,
but in the end, you even have to bring the people over here for the treatments.
For the treatments, yes, exactly, definitely.
You can have a nice hotel with good, nice spa area, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the topic of wellness generally, also post-COVID, is super interesting because I think it's growing from a hotel just having a spa to having a really more transformative and curated experience. And I mean, yes, people want to travel and catch up with everything they haven't done in the past. But I think people are also, they think more about what they really want to do. So it's more selective. So there might be really big trips, but I think also the trend to explore local areas that are not too far away is really big. I mean, just to get out of the city, connect with nature. So I think that in this DACH region also, I mean, we have so much of, beautiful mountains, lakes, nature, and all of that. So I think for the locals it's super interesting. And definitely in Asia, everyone, all my Asian friends have been to more places in this region than I have because they all want to go to the Black Forest. And, I mean, there's particular, like Schloss Schwanstein, obviously, but there's also other areas. So I think it's also an international market.
But it's nice that the idea to improve the spots and the hotels and the products you have that are not too far away.
Exactly.
So that in the end you don't have to take the plane all the time.
Exactly.
But spend shorter or longer weekends in different places just around.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's why you have to improve the products and especially the spa. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's the big difference between a spa, how do you call it, spa in a hotel in Asia and in here in Germany? Is it, does it feel completely different or?
I think I'm not so familiar, like growing up here in Heidelberg, there's not much of a spa culture, but then I know there's Baden-Baden and even in Frankfurt there's lots of Badehäuser and so on, which are great, but it's very different because in Asia, I mean, as everyone knows, you can have like an amazing massage for little money. So if you're going to a more luxurious hotel, the spa treatment it's very, very unique and individualized, and
It's why I said you always need the people, huh?
Yes, you need the people. Well, exactly. You need skilled people, and but I think there's enough skilled. If you have the training, then you can, apply it. You need a good teacher, like with
if you have the product, then you will also find somebody to.
But I think also it can be a very exclusive experience for yourself. But it also, I feel that the market is opening up, that it's not just about you in your private, treatment room, but maybe it's a bit of a mix of this German sense and the Asian that could be really interesting. So you can decide, because people want to kind of have their moment and have some salvation from the busy lifestyle, but they also want community more than ever. So, and I think we're not just talking about spa and wellness, it's like mental wellness, it's mindfulness. I think there's a really, it's a really big market. I mean, a lot of people actually needed to be able to deal with their crazy work life. So,
So what do you think in general? You have to convince the hotelier that there are so many different approaches. So there are so many new other ideas coming from abroad, or do you think that hoteliers from a newer or younger generation they're really already looking for your ideas?
I think
talk
the
about?
younger generation is also looking for that.
Because they already traveled a lot.
They traveled a lot, but also this kind of sustainability factor. So as you said, don't take the plane. You know, if you have like a bucket list, obviously you want to get to some of these amazing places the world has.
So bucket list,
offer.
Heidelberg, Black Forrest,
exactly.
Bodensee.
But it's also great if you can just get away for a few days and have something similar. So I'm pretty sure enough people are aware of that, and a lot of. I mean, I'm not as familiar with the market here as you are right now, but I think transformation. A lot of people are looking for transformation, and also operators. So
Yeah, I think a lot of family-run hotels have to not only improve but reinvent the product as well. So they need to find a new story. So that might be nice.
Now that you said story, to me, it's a lot about the design process is really about the narrative. So you're creating an experience and a lifestyle through that unique narrative that is based on parameters such as the place and the culture, and you really get into the location and you kind of form a story that makes it unique, and then the design always...
So you start much earlier. So it's not only the spa, but perhaps you even find a new brand or
and for each location you kind of have these parameters. So it's not too obvious in your face, but I think from a design perspective, to me, it makes it a lot easier to have meaning and a certain connectivity within a project.
How much time do you need to get a feeling, an idea of a new hotel?
Coming from Asia, more or less, we're pretty fast, I think.
Because they are very fast?
Yes.
Yeah?
I mean, it's a different speed for sure. Working a lot and fast. But I mean, if you have a good team and you brainstorm together, and I mean, this is also the fun part. You look at a project, a property, and the surrounding area, the history, the people, like all of the DNA. And to then come up with stories and be creative is really the most fun part. And also I find working within given restrictions, making the issue into something special is also...
So restriction might be space or budget or...
Yeah, all sorts of different things. I mean, I've worked a lot in high-end luxury, but I also worked on a number of smart hotels in China that were 3 stars. Or, there's different... I think that as a designer, what's interesting is that you can design within the parameters, and it's as long as the brief is clear, then you're trying to find a solution. So the challenge becomes the interesting point and makes it unique. And I think you can do a very simple design, but then you bring in some interesting artwork or like accents, and you can twist the whole story. So I think that to me is what makes it interesting and unique, is that every project is different, every property, every owner, every location. So So
coming back to your services, or I don't know if you call them services, but it's possible that you even work on the brand as well, or a little bit.
It's an interesting question. As Jana was describing her experiences and what we're facing here, I was thinking actually on that. I was thinking in the...
So a whole package, 360-degree.
Correct. And then the fact that we see intention here on many small owners and medium scale as well on developing their own brands and crafting those experiences to be unique. And we're actually working in 2 projects that are on that scale. And I see their interest to explore and into use as well our experiences and to craft those brands. And I think that is definitely a trend. I see it as well in other markets. I participate in one of them in Middle East, working with Imar, where they develop actually 3 major brands, 5 4 and 3 stars, and those are growing as well internationally. So I think there is an opportunity. There is to explore on new territories, create new narratives, but as well I see the international hotel operators trying to become more crafted and enhancing their brand portfolio in order to feed that need for millennials as well, that are actually looking for I would say instant satisfaction, which on the old products is more difficult to be obtained. Yeah. So I think the capacity for the teams to understand that need, understand the market needs, and respond quickly to those is crucial as well. But I see as well the value that we can offer as a German firm into international sector, other markets where our processes as well are, from a design intelligence perspective, a lot more efficient, I would say. You know, and as well, our cost seems to be very competitive. So helping the owners to create properties that are very intelligent from an experiential perspective, but even more intelligent when evaluating costs and the relationship between back of house and front of house is the adequate relationship. So making sure that the owners will get the return on investment that they need. Because if we let go, you know, everything to experiences, then our public spaces might be massive, and as well the back of houses. So I think we need to be intelligent and responsible to give them the best outcome, the most efficient one. Okay. So that would be my answer too.
Cool. Yeah. And how big is your team at the moment? So working in hospitality?
Now we have 3 offices, major offices, as you mentioned, Stuttgart, Berlin, and Shanghai. The office in Berlin is focused on lifestyle. So that's,
and lifestyle means hospitality, but also restaurants or shops, or
that's correct. Okay. So we have F&B, and as well we have high-end residential, which touch on service apartments. And so I think our team went from 2020 being 9 to 10 to 24 right now. So it's been a big push into explore other markets, but now we need to maintain the biz. Now it's a good message for all the owners that are looking for. Here we are to help. So,
and you even worked on the club restaurant from the VfB Stuttgart, so my soccer team from Stuttgart. So that's what I found out on your website.
Yeah, that's right. And
amazing.
I think F&B is really a key element for us. I think it's a starting point for Peter and Gunter.
I think it's a starting point. Starting for them, but also starting point a little bit to get into the business. Huh?
Yeah. You might have a lot of insights, but I think here in Germany, F&B is a very specific one. I really love it because I think there is attention on every detail. So it's a very insightful market to be in, I would say. So, and our team now is divided here in Berlin to be even more clear regarding what the team is doing. Is we have 3 major sectors, and we have a specific expertise in every sector. So we have someone taking care of the practice area on F&B, which is only focused on that. And then we do the same with hotels. And Jana is actually working over all the sectors, supporting the teams to deliver the best design possible.
Okay. Just to close this chapter, this wasn't only the VfB Stuttgart restaurant, but also the Motel One restaurant on their campus. So very big name already in hospitality that you're working for.
Yeah, I'm super proud of that, because I think Motel One is doing great. And I think they understood that actually public spaces are very important. So they offer the very minimum necessary in the guest rooms. You know, you have a perfect stay on them, but you are pushed to use the public spaces to share, to eat, to enjoy, to exchange, you know. So I think that's definitely not only a trend, but a need. And if we look at the market right now, and we think on what the leisure versus business travelers do, we see that business travelers use a lot more the public spaces because they have less time to experience the city. So they use the hotel facilities a lot more than what the leisure travelers do, which have time to explore the city as well. So I think Motel One did it perfectly. And if we look at that, and we come back to your point on how we can advise owners, I think that is the sort of intelligence that you want to have in your team when you're designing a brand.
Please. Yes. So I actually briefly worked for the planning architect of Motel One in between, and this was after I was at Marcel Wanders in Amsterdam, and it was really interesting. I mean, first of all, what Thomas mentioned, the whole calculation of back of house, front of house, because to me, I was always front of house, was super interesting. But also, the rooms are designed in such a smart way that it's all about numbers. So you can actually buy a more expensive product because you're multiplying it. But also the budget that was left for art, for example, in public spaces was so much higher than what we had at Marcel Wanders, because we already, not ran out of budget, but, everything was designed, every detail everywhere. So we actually never had much left for art. So I thought that was really interesting, and combining, exactly that knowledge, because yes, it is about an experience, but it also needs to be realistic, because otherwise it's not a product that is complete in itself. But you can be really smart about these things, and what's the focus, and where do you need an accent, and what parts can be, a bit simpler. So I think it's always about that balance. Yeah.
Okay. So if you say art, then you mean that you really buy the canvas or the paintings, or?
Yeah, we've done, I've also worked on a lot of art.
I know hotel chains that print the books on the wall, but that's very...
For the big projects that we've done, that I've done in the past, there was, Kimpton Hotel, for example, or Intercontinental. Both in Asia, we did the art package as well, where we...
I really have to get to know this, because now the hotel podcast goes Asia. So
okay,
I really have to
write
that down. So.
Yeah. So we actually also did an art package in which the conceptual approach of the art, and also how that could be done. So it's kind of a collage of a sculpture, but it has this influence, and then maybe you build a 3D or something, and then you get somebody to actually produce the art. But then you also have artists that you like.
Okay.
I think this is super interesting always in projects, if you work with local artists, and it could be the craft of how they're weaving something. It could be a photograph. There's so many different ways. It could be ceramics, and to either have that as an artwork or have it as a detail, as part of your, table or furniture or whatever element is super interesting, and that's also what makes it unique. So I think art in general to me is really important.
Nice.
But to have a budget, you don't want to copy things, obviously, and you also want to support the artist. So it's important that what do you want to, budget-wise, how are you, planning that to allow for these special features? Yeah.
Somehow I feel... that the region is young on those terms. When we go to more evolved markets on the hospitality industry, we see that our consultancy is really a practice, and you engage with our consultants in order to support you through the process. And I think in here, we're trying to craft those teams actually as well, to have an holistic offer as well. Because as Jana said, I think in order to offer a unique guest experience, art is relevant from a narrative perspective. You want to drive your guests into any story, and to complete that story, art is the at the top of the cake. So, but yes, budgets. Art is always a challenge on that regard, depending on how ambitious it is. And I see that we designers are very ambitious, of course, always in what we want to achieve, and then balance is important. So, again, maybe the relationship between different markets is important as well, to bring those stories crafted for other markets as well, with maybe artists as well need support. I'm a big believer of a concept of internationalization without necessarily being us moving to a different sector, but actually bringing those experiences from other markets into this market, and the opposite. And I think we have a large responsibility into work on that, all of us. I think the world is becoming one somehow, and I hope that will be a trend as well. So for the products that we are developing.
Okay. So in general, you see a lot of increasing interest in investing in hotels in the DACH region.
I perceive that there is a major interest from hospitality investors in other regions. We have the experience now, I think, with one of them in Southeast Asia, which is extremely active here, and we're helping him actually, and to take that adventure into Black Forest with one of our clients actually, the Druva family.
I think there are so many nice smaller hotels or even bigger hotels. Next generation doesn't want to take over.
And exactly, that's correct. And I think the new brands are actually being crafted specifically for those markets. And
so a totally new brand, you mean?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So you totally start with a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is an intention, of course, that comes from their experience. And then, when taking a new property and a new landscape and a new context, I think they have to readapt those. And we're helping into that experience. So we learn.
Nice. Okay.
But the most interesting part for me has been to see the dynamics between normally the investors are family investors, groups, and as well,
but they are
the owners
from abroad, the investor in general.
Yes. In this case, it's a South Asian investor from Thailand that I think is extremely receptive. But I think there is a major willingness from owners here as well to open the doors to that investment, and as well to knowledge and to experiences. So I'm hopefully looking to a market that will become super international, even in areas like the Black Forest, no? So I think that's extremely interesting.
I try to imagine how a traditional family from the Black Forest meets the potential investor from Asia. Yeah. But do you think the family from the Black Forest stays on board, or?
Very interesting question, and we are through the process right now. What I've seen through the process, what I learned is like,
because it would be a joint venture.
It's a family that has a few brothers, 3 brothers that are very active in the business, and funnily enough, they're married all to Asians. So in this case, it wasn't difficult to explain the nature of the business, and they were extremely receptive and happy to find someone who will have the interest to take care of the property, because the other generations, the younger generations, they're sons and they're in Canada.
So women take over.
Yeah. So So I think it's that's correct, and I think that's been for us a total positive shock somehow, and we're working through a process, and
if it works, it's a very nice example and reference.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many other hotels, but also other regions.
What has been nice is, in most of the large scale firms, you couldn't really take care of a relationship that way. And I think in our scale, which is 150 people right now globally, we can still do this. And I think that's a fantastic opportunity for everyone in the team to learn on how those relationships can be so meaningful for the work we produce. Not only from the fact that they're hiring us to do the work, but to understand the stories from both sides.
Sure, of course.
And then craft those stories together to offer a unique brand, a unique product. And I think that very individual experience is the one that we're responsible to offer in terms of planning, in terms of investment, how we deliver the best product. And I think it will be a challenge. We are working on it. So...
Yeah, and there's not only Black Forest, there's Allgäu, there are so many in Austria and Switzerland, so many other interesting regions.
And I think through that discussion, others are opening. So we have more local owners.
But the local owners, they really contact you, or because?
Yeah, well, Peter's most the contact person in most of these cases, and some of them come through me, some of them come through Gunter as well.
Yeah, sure.
I hope that many others will come through many other actors here as well, because we are all connected.
But it's a real advantage that they come from Stuttgart, from the southern part of Germany. So
we have actually received 2 properties from Stuttgart last week.
Okay,
and I think for us, we're learning by doing. No, we actually understanding that there is a need. From those owners, and as well there is actors. I have an interesting conversation with Fraser's Properties. You probably meet them in the event later as well. They looking to be part of this market. So I think Berlin in particularly, and I think Germany as a whole, is becoming a very hot market, and somehow
the long stay apartments from Fraser's.
Yes, that's correct. I think there is a trend as well. I think German market is a family oriented market for hospitality, and I think long stay is a really important part of that market, because they come with 2 kids. Most of them, they need storage space. And I think many hotels brands, the international hotel operators, didn't consider that in the past. But the new brands are actually crafted for that sort of market. So, we worked last year in a project in Hamburg that was a service apartment actually for those sort of families. And I understood that many of the guests were actually North Europeans, specifically people from Denmark. And so families they're looking for to spend their weekend in Germany, and they are looking for a bigger space and more storage and better services and better equipped service apartments. So I think that is a learning curve as well, you know. No, the owners don't scatimate to spend, you know, because they want to offer the best to those families. And for us, it's always a design challenge to really accommodate everything, you know, and prioritize. So.
It's so interesting to hear that.
Yeah,
it's much more than a design office or architecture office or how you call it. It's a matchmaking platform as well. What you do?
I mean, I think it's happening. Don't you think so, Jana? I think it's happening because of the times that we're into. You know, we see how technology is affecting us, not only in services, but as well in us as makers. You know, we see that our software platform is becoming less complex, more effective. You know, we find more responses. So I think that has an effect on over everything. And I think we are now in the right time to start looking for better answers to the problems that we are into, and less complex services. I think that's our take on all of this. Let's make the conversation more agile. Let's focus on better experiences, and let's deliver with the less possible complexity. And on that regard, maybe something important to add as my last point for this part of the discussion is the fact that I've seen immense positive reception for international markets to the delivery system, the German delivery system called Hawaii. Because it seems to be a system that, comparing to systems like the RABA or the AEA and other markets, like the British and American standards, is focusing to deliver what is strictly necessary, you know, information for the builders to build with you know, in timely manner. And I think that's been a big tool for us to expand in markets. And I can see that, particularly in Middle East, where now there is a big demand, they're very, very happy to welcome that design intelligence into their process. So for us, and for me, particularly being a newcomer into a market, I'm super happy to be part of this system now and trying to help to expand the message. So, anything else to add? Good.
So, if the hotel podcast goes to Asia now, what would be your favorite country, or where would you send me to? Is it Shanghai or
Ronald? I think you have become somehow. I think it's really interesting that I haven't seen in my years, and I think I have 20 years experience plus right now, and being in, I would say, four major markets. I've never seen such an exercise, and I think, if I need to answer that question, I will say that I was last week in Riyadh. To meet with the PIF, which is, the organization which is ruling all the giga projects that are happening in there. There is, I have access to see 70 projects, all of them mega cities somehow. The smaller was 5 million people inhabitants, and the biggest was 50, and all of them with an important focus on wellness and hospitality within the master plan.
But in Riyadh and
not only Riyadh, but actually around Saudi Arabia. And I think because of that energy, there is as well a need in that market to understand what are really international hospitality standards. So if you will ask me where I should send you to drive your message, I think that would be an interesting market as well for them to see what happened internationally, because as you know, it's a market that's opening up just now. So for years they haven't had the opportunity to experience, and I think it would be a good advice, and it would be definitely welcoming from their side to have that sort of message, the one that you run through your podcast. Asia is always an interesting market, but of course a lot more evolved, and with the language barrier, of course.
I started my first startup in the age of 19 in Shanghai. I produced some tailor-made shirts for 4 years. So I spent a lot of time in Shanghai.
Okay. Yeah. So, ni hao.
Ni hao ma.
That's I think China has become as well, a big answer. I noticed in Middle East, they're already thinking in standards for the Asian tourists. to adapt to their products. The question is, are we doing it here? Well, the experience in the Black Forest, they're already thinking to have a Chinese restaurant within the. So I think we can avoid that. Actually, there will be the influence of more tourism into the region. So
a Chinese restaurant in the Black Forest hotel.
There is already,
because
they already have it, but we will need to implement.
I had the same problem in China because if you're there for 3 months, so only 3 months, not longer. So you're really happy about the Starbucks. So it was in 2008, 9, 2010. There was only Starbucks with Western food. So,
and Oktoberfest is actually celebrated.
I went to Qingdao for the beer fest.
Oh, of course, that's a German city. Actually. yeah. But I'm sure in Singapore actually as well. There was.
I mean, there's Oktoberfest is massive anywhere in Asia. I haven't even been to the Oktoberfest myself, but like everyone in Asia would love to go there. I've Oktoberfest every year in Singapore. I went there as well. I mean, the difference in Singapore is that you have Western food, obviously. You have, I think it's there's at least 10 of the top 20 best restaurants in Asia in Singapore.
10 out of 20.
Yeah, something like that. And it's a lot of French and also British chefs who have their restaurants there. So it is international, and there's obviously also Chinese or Japanese and local chefs. But I mean, Singapore to me, I would have not gone there. Like as a travel destination, it never really sparked an interest. But I have to say, if you want to experience like this sort of culinary experience in Singapore, you can spend 2 weeks easily just trying all sorts of different foods from, there's even some of the Michelin star chefs who then go to the hawker center, the local market, food court, and eat a meal for a few dollars. That is amazing, So what I love about, the culture there is that you really have everything from very simple to very refined, and any sort of price from nothing to lots of hundreds of dollars. But it's really great in that sense. It's more Western. I think Shanghai, when you went there, was still quite.
I even spent one week in Singapore. Just remember, it's a long time ago, but it was after backpacking a few months in New Zealand after the Abitur, and only spent 1 week in Singapore.
Okay.
And one evening in the Writers Bar from the Raffles Hotel, which was very nice.
When did you go there? But that was probably
after the Abitur, 2010 something.
Yeah, so there was no Marina Bay Sands, all of that. So it changed a lot. But I think it's a stopover location, and it is super interesting. Everyone who went there loved it, but it's culturally not. I mean, in places like London, you can go and see all these great shows and museums and all of that. Singapore is not like that, but for food and that mix of different cultures that live together on a daily basis always. I mean, even before the expats is really interesting. Yeah.
I really like how you open so many doors here in the hotel podcast, because you've got different offices. So even in Shanghai, you've got such a interesting international background. You both, you've got projects from everywhere. So
There comes the complexity as well with those. There comes the complexity of mediate.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that mediation enrich everyone, but as well offer larger compromise. And on that regard, I think that has been maybe a challenge to share with our community or architectural colleagues, and the fact that when we engage on a new market, somehow we need to adapt those conditions. Just to give an example, the fact that we're working now with Middle East and specifically Saudi, when you enter to that market, Sundays are working day. So sometimes the feedback is required. So balance the needs of the projects with the needs of the staff and maintain a sense of well-being is as well a challenge, and a challenge that we welcome and a challenge that we actually working on. that sometimes push, retention into the levels that are not the ones you want.
Yeah.
But as well, not everyone is as well open for beliefs, to work on those markets. And I think that's a valid option. And so that we offer the option to our staff to participate or not, depending on their affinity with certain ideas in the world. But I think, again, I believe technology will, in the big picture, free us from many of those, curtains that we live in, and give us a much wider perception of the world. And I think we, hospitality designers, we have responsibility to actually drive that message as well.
Sure.
And we do, and again, I see it as an opportunity. So I welcome everyone who wants to come and join us into this adventure to do it, because find talent in the DACH region, hospitality talent, it's not so easy. I mean, we have many colleagues around, but I think it's not so easy to find good hospitality designers, because the big markets are always being, the US market and then the Asia market. And I think, now it's happening here. So,
Yeah, but you, with what all you do, you really re-strengthen the market, the position. So it's creative products now.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I think that was only a starting point of what we do together. So Ippolito Fleitz, the office here, you both, and the hotel podcast. So I'm really looking forward to my second visit here in Berlin. Quite curious where I will find your hotel in the Black Forest one day with a Chinese restaurant.
You're very welcome to visit. I'm sure you have many invitations, but you might need to adapt that visit in your calendar.
Yeah, sure. So thanks a lot.
You're very welcome.
And Jana? Thank you as well.
Yes. Thank you. It was really great talking to you and getting more of an insight into
there's a lot to learn for me, so, and also for the hotel podcast audience, because you really opened my mind. And
I watched quite a few of your podcasts prior to this, and to me, as I mentioned before, I have not been in this region. I mean, I'm German, half German, but I'm new to this market as well. So it was really great listening to your podcast, because there were so many different people, different sides of the hospitality sector, and the stories and experiences they were sharing was really an eye-opener to me as well. So
cool.
I think,
thanks for that.
Great work.
I would like to add something. Now that you said that, I feel like the next podcast, we should be interviewing you.
Okay.
Because it might be a lot to learn from you. Yeah. And I think that would be a challenge. So if you take that challenge, we should do
to find out what I know about architecture and stuff. Yeah.
And as well, what you've been doing as years. And actually, I think you today are you not only because of us, are you in Berlin, but as well because of the International Hotel Forum. No? So that's, interesting, I think, exercise as well. I mean, for me, was new actually to understand that from last year. I think it's from last year. That's happening, and for sure was successful. Otherwise, it won't repeat it. So that shows that Berlin is actually another one of those cities where hospitality is a meaningful, activity actually.
Great. So let's learn and grow together. Thanks again.
Yeah.
And see you soon again.